The car's electrical system requires protection from there being too much electricity flow, which is also called current flow, within the circuitry wiring. So what we have on a vehicle are items called fuses. And these fuses, they protect the wiring from these overloads where there's too much electricity flow in order to prevent a catastrophic event such as a fire due to the overheating of the wire. So where will we find these fuses that we have to check every once in a while? Inside a fuse panel that's usually covered up, and in many cases that fuse panel will have written inside for each fuse what it does, like this one does. So it tells me what each fuse is for. Like if it's to protect the wiring for the wiper motor, or for the headlights, or for the radio. Okay, so it should all be laid out. If your fuse panel lid doesn't have something like this, then you will find this information in the owner's manual. So when it comes to fuses on your vehicle, we have three different size types. We have mini, the standard size, and the maxi fuse. And the basic name for these are ATO type fuses. So it's a safety device to prevent circuit damage due to too much electricity flow. And when we say electricity flow, we really mean the flow of electrons, the physical flow of electrons. Now another name you're going to hear for that is current flow. Okay? So, as you can see, that is much bigger than that one, and that's much bigger than that one. Now when it comes to these fuses, written on the top of each fuse is a number. And this number tells us the maximum amount of current flow, or electron flow, or electricity flow that's allowed within that circuit wiring, within this fuse, before it will break. And when I say break, it's meant to do that. Alright? So for example, if I hold this fuse up to the light, see that little metal bridge between the two ends here? Right here looks like a letter S. Okay? So what happens is, if too much electricity flows through it, it pops open like that. So then electricity can't flow through it, and then that way the wiring for that circuit is protected. So there's different ratings, of course, like this one says 15, this one says 10. Now when we talk about 10, 15, 60, and we're talking about current flow, we have to have a measurement system. So the measurement system for electricity, when it comes to the amount of electrons flowing, is amps. So when this says 15, it means it will allow a maximum of 15 amps of current flow through this fuse before it will purposely break right in that bridge, right in the center. This one says 10. So this one is rated for 10 amps of current flow before it'll purposely break. And when I say break, the proper way of saying it is a blown fuse. Alright? So a blown fuse, the little metal bridge is missing. It's melted on purpose to protect the wiring. So here's some little mini fuses. Now these big things here are not fuses. They're called relays. And a relay is a device that controls circuit operation. And you have many relays on your car too, but that's something we're not going to talk about right now. We're only going to talk about fuses. To get these fuses out of here, sometimes there's a little tool that's sitting in the fuse panel you can use. If it's not there, then grab a pair of needle-nose pliers to pop it straight out. Don't pry side to side, just try to get it to come straight out without breaking it. Okay? So now I'm going to show you how to actually test a fuse. So to test it, we have a device called a test light. It has an alligator clip on one end and a very sharp probe tip on the other end that has a light in the center. So to check these fuses on this car, I'm going to take off the cap off the fuse panel. I'm going to put the alligator clip end on the negative post of the battery. So that's negative. There's positive. I'm putting the alligator clip on negative, and I take this And when I go down the fuse, see how there's this little metal tip right here? So if I touch... Uh-oh, why am I... Oh, I got a connection here for some reason. Here's a tip. When you're going to check fuses, once you put your alligator clip on the negative, bring the tip over to the positive to make sure it lights up. Yep, okay, so it's working. There we go. So I know the test light is good now. Alright? So I'm going to come down to this one. See that little metal tip there? So I touched there, it lit up. I'm going to go to the other side, the other little metal tip on the same fuse. It lit up. So if both sides light up, it lit up here and it lit up here, I know that fuse is now good. If I touch it on one spot here and it lights up, and I go over to the other little metal tab and it doesn't light up when I touch it, that tells me that that little metal bridge in here is broken, and I know then that that fuse is no good. Alright? So there's the two little metal tabs. If both sides get touched and they do light up, the test light lights up, that fuse is good. If you touch one side and it lights up, and then you touch the other side and it does not light up, that fuse is not good. It needs to be replaced. Now, if you find a fuse that when you touch both sides with the test light, it does not light up at all, that could be a fuse that's only going to be operational, like a circuit that's only going to be operational if you actually maybe have to start the car or turn on the headlights. Many headlight fuses, you actually have to turn on the headlights in order to have that fuse, to get a proper reading when you test the fuse. Okay? So that is a test light that's used to check fuses. Put the alligator clip on negative, double check to make sure it's working by touching positive, and then go and check your fuses. Okay? And if this one was blown and it says 40, make sure that you only put a 40 amp fuse back in its place. Do not put one of a higher amperage. Do not put one of a lower amperage. Only put the proper size. And if you're unsure what the proper size is supposed to be, go back to the little map and it'll tell you what each one. For example, for this one, for the cooling fan, it says it's supposed to be a 25 amp. Alright? So if it's supposed to be a 25 amp, say this one right here, I'm not going to put in a 30, I'm not going to put in a 20, because that could cause a serious problem. You're only going to put the proper recommended size in. And that is the base. Oh, actually, I can quickly tell you, I'm running out of battery here on my camera, but if I put one, if it says 25 is what you're supposed to put in, and if I put in a 40, that means that fuse will not purposely blow until we reach 40 amps. Yet that circuit wiring was only designed for 25. What will happen? The wiring will start to burn even before this gets a chance to purposely break across the bridge. Alright? So that's why you use the proper size fuse. So that's a little basic terminology when it comes to fuses and how to use a test light to check the fuses on your vehicle.